In this week's episode of Working with Todoist, I have an exciting new system that's just been received from the GTD company. Hello and welcome to episode 138, I think, of Working with Todoist. My name is Carl Pauline, and in this week's episode I have something really exciting to show you. But just to give you a little bit of background, yesterday I discovered that the GTD company, that's the Getting Things Done company of David Allen, have just released a GTD setup guide for Todoist. And this is something I have been waiting for a long time. I already have the GTD setup guides for OmniFocus from when I used to use OmniFocus. I also have the GTD setup guide for Evernote, as well as iPad and iPhone. These are setup guides that you can get from the GTD website, which I will actually put a link in the notes section below, and they are fantastic, particularly if you're in the GTD world and you really want to create a proper GTD setup for yourself. They are the best setup guides that you can get. I've just, well, you can tell I'm really excited. But in this particular setup guide of the GTD Todoist setup guide, they actually have given us two setups. One which is the more traditional way, which I show you pretty much every single week. There's a few little tweaks and so on, but essentially it's the same as what I use on a day-to-day basis. But they have also shown a completely revolutionary way of setting up a pure GTD system in that workbook, which really got me excited. And so what I did was I've set up my demo account in this system. I played around with it this morning and it is wonderful. So much so I'm very tempted to set it up for my main account, but I need to play with it a little bit more. But in this week's episode, I thought what a wonderful New Year present to give to you guys is to show you this setup guide. I put a link to the GTD, the Todoist setup guide in the comment section below. I think I've just mentioned that, but it's already there for you, so you can go and get yourself a copy. They're $10, but I don't want you to think of that as a $10 expense. I promise you that is a $10 investment, and it's well worth the investment. So I'm going to go inside now, and I'm going to open up Todoist, my demo account, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, before I do that, I would just like to say, if you like this video, click on the like button below, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe. Okay, let's get into the warmth inside, and I'll show you how it all works. Okay, so what I've done is I've set up my demo account in this new revolutionary idea or revolutionary way of using Todoist, and I actually really quite like it. And as I've been playing around with this setup, it really does actually work. So let me just go into the basics of how to set this up. And of course, this is not how I set up my normal Todoist. That's the other option that's available in this Todoist manual. But this is the one that I saw, and it just really wanted me to get it to test it out. So basically what we do is, instead of setting up your projects as regular projects, you actually set up your projects as we call it in GTD speak, context. So these are just the standard contexts that are recommended in the workbook, but of course you can change these to fit more in line with your own context. But essentially the first one here at the top is projects. Now this is just a holding area. It doesn't really have any tasks. These are just the projects that you may actually want to that you have set up at any time. And the reason for this is just so that when it comes to reviewing, doing your weekly review, you will be able to get all the things set up so you can just quickly review on a weekly basis. The key areas are the ones underneath. So what we have here is agendas. So here there's a couple of ways of setting agendas up. Now, there is my preferred way and there is the way. Both the workbook actually gives you both ways. The first one is, let's take the one example here that I've got is James Bond. And in the notes section, you would add change gun from Beretta to all the PPK, find out about Ernest Stavro Blofeld, update on GoldenEye. So these are, that's one way of doing the agenda. Or you could do, in case my tailor, so get navy flannel suit repaired. You can actually set it up as a sub-project within each actual project itself. So that's one way of doing it. You could also create sub-projects under agenda as well. So you can just create a project below and you can just move it in like that. And you can actually have that as a, so let's just type in test to show you what it would look like. So you can add the project and you can actually do it that way. So there's another way you could do this if you wished. Anywhere, again, you would put on in here. So I've got in here, read Tao Te Ching, if I think I may have pronounced that right. Develop ideas for next online course, review purchase options for new car, etc. Calls, these are the people that you'd want to call. Computer, these are all the things that you want to actually do on the computer, etc, etc. You get the idea. Errands. Another one with errands is, like, I could have here, buy a new pair of jeans, have a look at the new iMac Pro in Apple Store, buy Barney a new winter coat. Or alternatively, if you like, for example, here we have a department store called Marks and Spencer's. If I wanted to go into Marks and Spencer's, if I went there regularly, I could create like underneath the actual thing that I would want to buy at Marks and Spencer's. So there's another way of doing it. Again, you got home. So these are all the things that I'd want to do at home. And office, again, things that you might want to do at the office. Now, waiting for is an interesting one. And the way that it's set up in the workbook, I think is a really, really good way of doing it. You actually start off the task with the name of the person that you're waiting for, what you are actually waiting for, and the date that you sent it. So this is the date that you sent the actual waiting for email or telephone call or whatever. So when Peter said to you, okay, I'll get back to you on current negotiations, and let's just say he told me this on the 15th of December, now just put in 15/12 there. Again, Joan replied to my request on guest video, so it got 23rd of December. And M, authority to destroy Blofeld's volcano lair. Again, I asked that on the 13th of 12. So there's one way that these are the things that I'm waiting for. And someday maybe could be all sorts of different ways of setting up someday maybe. So here I've got some sample ones in here. Buy remote island off West Coast Korea. Take trip to Jamaica to visit GoldenEye. Now let's just say I've got one here called set up branch office in Ireland. Now I could actually put the details in here. Which is one way of doing it, which is we'll need to decide whether the office is County Galway or in Dublin, etc. You can put it in the notes section, or alternatively, you could actually just create a non-completable task. And remember, to do that, you can do asterisks at the start, then space, or alternatively, you can put a colon at the end of the sentence. It's entirely up to you. I'm old school. I know many people are new school. You can put that there, and the note would just appear underneath the actual task that you set. So there's various ways of doing it, and of course you could even do it this way, which is create it as a task underneath. So that's one way of doing it. So essentially what you're doing is you're setting up your projects as your context, which I think is a brilliant idea if you want to create a pure GTD system, because as I mentioned, GTD is all about the context, it's not about the project. And because most to-do list managers focus on projects and labels, i.e. context, it gets a bit mixed up. So this would be a fantastic way of setting up a pure GTD system. Now, I hear you asking, what do you use labels for? Well, in this situation, you would use labels would actually be your project. So in this case, Island Office. So anything with the label Island Office would be set up here. And now it's come up as projects, because I don't actually have any other tasks set up for that. iMac Pro, though, I already have. Now, inside here, I've got projects, errands, and office. So buy new MacBook Pro is the project. Have a look at the new iMac Pro at Apple Store. That's an errand. Or it could be anywhere. It's entirely up to me, but to me, that's going to be an errand. And talk to purchasing about buying me an iMac Pro, which would be done in the office. So you can see the actual context comes up, and the label would be the actual project. And again, new product presentation, I've got a few in here. So new product presentation is the project. And because project's at the top of the list, that will always come up at the top. I've also got the deadline of the project is here. And then underneath I've got the task. So I've got continue designing presentation for next week's meeting, computer, give sales team new brochures, done at the office. And again, New Year cleanup. Now this one again, the project is up at the top and the date for completion is the 7th of January. And then underneath I've got clean up all files, which would be done on the computer, clean out all boxes of stuff, which would be done at home, clean out desk drawers, done at the office. This is just a wonderful, wonderful way of setting up your Todoist. Now, there is another one clear here where you can just click on the office when you're in the office and all your actual tasks related to office will come up underneath office. It's just a fantastic way of setting things up. How you would use filters obviously is entirely up to you. I've just set one up here as a sample, which would be this week, so I can actually see the tasks that I've got created for this week, but you can actually set filters up in the normal way. Now, this is one of the cool things that I saw in the workbook, which I think is fantastic. If you use the right keyword in all your tasks, so let's say, for example, the iMac project, all I have to do is type in iMac, query all tasks, and this comes up with the list of all the things that I have related to buying the iMac Pro. Once again, because projects are at the top of the list, that's at the top. Errands come up here and Office comes next. Just a really cool way. Now, I've used the word clean, so if I type in clean, now I've got a lot of things in here for cleaning up. So New Year cleanup, clean back of TV and computer, which I haven't assigned a label to yet, but that would be a routine anyway. So I could create a label called routine, so I could actually use my routine system within this system. And then again, Office there. So you can actually use the quick find to actually find all the tasks related to what you are specifically looking for. And it tied it up nicely in their context that you've set up. Now, I should point out that the book, as I mentioned in the introduction, does have two systems. It does go through two systems. This is the first system that it goes through. And of course, it does the more traditional system using projects, labels and filters in the way that we probably all are using project filters and labels. But this to me is just a system that I am going to start looking into a lot more. I'm going to play around with it a lot more within my demo account to see if I can actually make it work on a day-to-day basis. Because if I can, this would be a project that I've been trying to work on for a long time, which is to create a pure GTD system. Now, there are various other things in the workbook related to your reference materials, because you could keep that in Todoist, because as you know, let's go back into one of these. So if I go into this and we click on the notes, you can add things from your computer, Dropbox and Google Drive. So if you actually linked your Dropbox and your Google Drive to this, you could actually keep your reference materials related to each project in the notes section as well. So there's so many things that you could actually do with this system if you wished. There is a great deal of flexibility, and I really, really like the idea. And I think over the next few days, maybe a few weeks, I'm going to start playing around with this and just to see what I call stress test it to see if it is actually possible to work. But there you go. If you want more details about this, I'll put a link to the GTD Todoist workbook in the comment section, in the notes section below, so you can go and get yourself a copy. I think the cost of the workbook is $10, as they all are with GTD. I think it's definitely a $10 investment, really worth going through. There is so much detail in there. It gives you a full summary of the GTD system as well. You cannot go wrong with this purchase. To me, it's not really a purchase, it's more of an investment because of what it can do for your own personal productivity system. So I really want to say thank you to all those guys working at GTD who put this together. It is a fantastic workbook and one that I strongly recommend that you have a look into, because I'm sure it can really boost your productivity. It just remains for me now to wish you all a very, very happy new year and also a very, very productive week.